The grain on the white oak door frame was wrong. Not just ugly wrong. Dangerous wrong. The fibers were twisting against the load in a way that told me one thing very clearly. If someone kept forcing that penthouse door, the whole frame would split down the middle. Most people would never see it. I work with wood for a living. It felt like the building itself was whispering, warning me. I stood in the hallway of the ironworks lofts, wiping sawdust off my hands onto an old rag. It was late afternoon. The concrete walls still held a bit of heat from the day. The air smelled like dust, metal, and the faint citrus cleaner the janitor pretended to use. The penthouse unit at the end of the hall had been empty for 2 years. Suddenly, the lock was shiny and scarred, and there was a fresh sliver of brass stuck in the jamb. Someone had forced it. Behind the frosted glass, a shadow moved, but it did not move like a thief. It was smooth and steady. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. A tape measure hitting a wall. I stepped closer. I did not shout or ask who was there. I just listened, my shoulder almost touching the cool plaster. My hand lifted toward the handle, ready to show the door how not to die. The door swung open first. She was not a burglar. She was a storm wrapped in a white tank top and black trousers, dark hair loose around her shoulders, eyes sharp and tired at the same time. One hand held a laser level like it was a weapon. The other braced on the frame I knew was about to fail. Her gaze ran over me fast. Gray t-shirt, work boots, sawdust on my jeans, stain in the lines of my knuckles. "If you're the plumber, you're late," she said. "And if you're the welcome committee, I don't drink wine." "I'm neither," I said. "I'm the guy who knows if you force that door one more time, the jamb splits straight down the grain." She blinked. Surprise flashed, quick and real, before she smoothed it away. "It was stuck," she said. "Humidity," I answered. "White oak expands. You don't force it. You lift, then turn." She looked at the latch like it had betrayed her, then back at me with a cool, businesslike calm. "I'm Gwendolyn Cooper," she said. "I bought the place." "Bryce Rogers," I said. "Unit 101. I own the joinery shop on the ground floor." "The noisemaker," she said. "The craftsman." I corrected. For a second, we stood there in the doorway, deciding if we were going to be enemies or neighbors. The elevator dinged down the hall. Wayne Bailey stepped out, holding a clipboard like it was a badge. HOA president. Polo shirt, careful tan, smile that never reached his eyes. "Miss Cooper," he said, voice sweet. Then his gaze slid to me like I was an oil stain on polished concrete. "And Mr. Rogers, I see you've met." I did not move away from the door. Wayne shifted the clipboard in his hands. "I'm just here to inform you," he said, "that the board has scheduled an emergency meeting regarding your proposed modifications to the terrace." "My renovation isn't a modification," Gwendolyn said. Her tone was calm, but I heard the steel under it. "It's a restoration, and I have permits." "The permits allow interior work," Wayne replied. "The rooftop is a limited common element. We have concerns about structural integrity. Dirt, trees, water. The board is moving to block the project." I watched Gwendolyn's fingers tighten around the laser level. Not fear, fatigue. The kind of tired that comes from fighting too many battles alone. "The structure is fine," I said. Wayne turned to me, fake smile fading. "Excuse me?" he asked. "The roof," I said, keeping my voice flat. "Reinforced concrete over steel I-beams. This place used to hold industrial water tanks in 1920. A few Japanese maples are not going to hurt it." Wayne's eyes narrowed. "You're a carpenter, Bryce," he said. "Stick to making chairs. Leave engineering to professionals." "I'm a landscape architect," Gwendolyn cut in, chin lifting. "I am a professional." "Then you'll understand why we need a vote," Wayne said. He glanced at his watch. "Tuesday, 7, lobby. And Bryce, the complaints about sawdust in the ventilation. Look into that." He turned and walked back to the elevator like he had already won. The doors closed on his smirk. Gwendolyn exhaled slowly. She leaned against the very frame I'd warned her about and rubbed her temple with the back of her wrist. "Great," she said. "First day and I'm already at war." "He's not worried about the building," I said. "What is it then?" she asked. "He wanted this unit," I said. "Put in a lowball offer last month. You outbid him." Something in her face softened for a second. Still sharp, still in control, but tired. "I just need a place to breathe, Bryce," she said. "I don't have energy for a turf war." "Then don't fight him alone," I said. We moved out into the exterior walkway that wrapped the lofts. Late sun turned the concrete a warm gold. The city hummed below us. Somewhere, a window was open and dishes clinked. She walked to the railing and looked down. Wayne was already on the level below, leaning too close to a blonde neighbor in a pink top. He talked soft, leaned in, then glanced up at us. The woman followed his eyes, saw us, and looked away fast. "He's building a story about me before I even unpack," Gwendolyn said. Her jaw tightened. I shifted half a step and placed myself just enough in front of her that Wayne had to look past me if he wanted to stare. "Let him talk," I said. "A story needs proof." Her eyes flicked to my chest, then back to my face. "You're not scared of him," she said. "I'm scared of bad work," I said. "Not bad politics." That pulled the edge of a smile from her. Small, real, not safe yet, but there. "Tuesday at 7, she asked. "I'll be there," I said. "And if he twists the rules, I'll read them back to him." She went back inside and this time lifted the door while she turned the handle, just like I told her. It opened clean. I stayed in the hall 1 second too long. Jasmine clung to the air behind her, soft and green. It mixed with dust and solvent on my own shirt, and my hands tightened inside my pockets for reasons I did not want to name. Tuesday came fast. The HOA meeting looked like a firing squad disguised as community business. Folding chairs filled the lobby. Residents held printouts in their hands like weapons. Wayne sat up front with his clipboard. King in a cheap throne. Gwendolyn took a front row seat in a sharp blazer. Her spine was straight. Her eyes were calm. Her shoulders were too tight. I sat 2 rows back near a pillar, where I could see both the board and the door. Old habits. On a job site, you always know where the exits are. "The issue," Wayne said into the microphone, "is weight load. Ms. Cooper wants to install a living garden on the roof. Dirt, water, stone. This building is old. We cannot risk collapse because a new owner wants a private park." Murmurs moved through the room. "I have the structural report," Gwendolyn said, standing. She held up a binder, signed by a licensed engineer. "Engineers can be bought," Wayne said, "and we have residents below that unit. Vibration alone could crack plaster in 402. Unit 402 was empty. I knew. I'd fixed the baseboards myself after the last tenant left." "And who is doing the work?" Wayne asked. "Bonded commercial contractor, or are you doing it yourself?" She hesitated. She did not have a contractor yet. That was my cue. "I'm doing the woodwork," I said, standing. Wayne's eyes sharpened. "Mr. Rogers," he said, "you are not on the approved vendor list." "I'm licensed, insured, and I live here," I said, "and the work is low-impact joinery. Freestanding, no cutting into structure." People turned to look at me. They listened when they could picture what I meant. "I'm not asking for permission to destroy anything," Gwendolyn said. "I'm asking for the right to improve what I own." Wayne tried to rush the vote. I raised my hand. "Bylaws," I said. "Page 13. He did not want to hand them over, but he had to. I read the clause out loud. "Limited, common element use requires structural impact, not aesthetics." I let the words sit in the air. Wayne's smile thinned. The board could not block her outright. Not with that clause hanging between us. They tried to slow her with time limits and extra inspections, but in the end, she won the right to build. Wayne did not look beaten. He looked like a man who had just picked a different weapon. The next morning, Gwendolyn came to my shop. I was planing a strip of maple, the sharp, sweet smell of fresh shavings all around me. Joinery is honest work. Wood does not lie. It either fits or it does not. I heard her heels before I saw her. She stopped in the doorway like she did not quite know how to step into a room built for hands instead of meetings. "I need help," she said. I set the plane down. "Tell me what you want," I said. "I want the rooftop to breathe," she said. "I want a terrace that feels like a small private park. Trellis, pergola, planters. Jasmine along the railing." I nodded once. "We do it clean," I said. "We do it right. We do it removable, so Wayne has nothing to grab." She exhaled, like she had been holding that wish in her chest for years. "Wayne won't stop," she said. "He doesn't have to stop," I said. "He just has to fail." Her eyes met mine. For the first time, there was more than just tension and tiredness there. There was trust, small and new. "Okay," she said. "Then let's build it." We started on a Saturday. The old penthouse terrace looked tired. Cracked pavers, rust on the railing, patches of roof gravel where something had once been, and then died. The city spread out beyond it, cranes and brick and sky. It felt like a stage waiting for a new set. Gwendolyn came up in jeans and a dark t-shirt, hair tied back this time. No blazer, no heels. She carried a rolled plan under one arm and a box of chalk in the other. She spread the drawings on an old metal table. Clean lines. Careful angles. Notes in tight handwriting. "You drew this?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "Light direction, wind, weight. I want Jasmine here and here. Planters along this edge. A pergola here that frames the skyline, not blocks it." She tapped the paper with her pen. Her hand was steady, her voice was sure. She knew her craft. That made me like her more than I wanted to admit. "Okay," I said. "Then my job is to make the wood behave." The terrace door still fought her. When she tried to close it, it stuck. She frowned and pushed harder. "Stop," I said. She froze. I crouched and ran my thumb along the frame. Someone had patched it with the wrong cut of oak. The grain wanted to twist. "This piece," I said, pointing, "is wrong. It wants to move this way. That's why your door sticks." "So you can fix it?" she asked. "I can do better than fix it," I said. "I can make it behave." She watched while I marked a new line with my pencil, the tape measure snapping against the wood. Tap, tap, tap! The sound echoed between us. "People downstairs will complain about that," she said. "They already do," I said, "but they like having doors that open." Her mouth curved. We worked. I brought up beams and posts from the shop. She helped carry what she could. When the pieces were too heavy, she still grabbed one end and braced it without saying a word. She did not pretend to be delicate. She did not watch from a chair. She got dust on her hands and sweat on her neck and dirt on her knees. By the end of the first day, we had the main pergola posts standing in temporary braces. The shadows on the roof changed shape. The space started to feel like a room. Week by week, the terrace shifted. We built planter boxes lined with membrane and drains. We laid out pavers in a pattern that followed her drawings. I made joinery that sat on weight pads instead of drilling into the structure. I could feel the building under my feet, solid and old and stubborn. Wayne watched from other balconies. Sometimes he just happened to be on his phone above us. Sometimes he leaned on a rail with a neighbor, talking low and glancing our way like we were a problem he would soon fix. Noise complaints started hitting my mailbox again, sanding at odd hours. Hammering too close to quiet time. The usual. We kept working. One afternoon, I was setting a crossbeam when I heard her boots on the ladder. I turned and saw her step onto the terrace, with a bucket of hardware hooked in one hand, the sun behind her, lighting the edges of her hair. She bent to sort bolts on the concrete. A strand of hair fell out of her ponytail and brushed her cheek. My jaw tightened. It was not a dramatic moment. It was a simple one, but something in my chest pulled tight anyway. "Your strap," I said. She looked up. "What?" she asked. I nodded toward her shoulder. One of the tank top straps under her work shirt had slipped. I did not touch it. I just pointed, then looked away. She fixed it herself, fingers quick. I still felt heat move up my neck. "Better," I said. Her eyes stayed on me a second too long. The air between us felt thinner. Wind moved through the jasmine leaves. A car horn sounded far below. I found myself looking at her mouth without meaning to. My hand flexed at my side. I took a small step closer, then stopped like I had hit a line I had drawn for myself. "We're losing light," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Hand me the level." She held it out. Our fingers brushed, only for a second, just skin to skin, warm and real. It was enough for my heart to jump hard against my ribs. She pulled her hand back, a little fast. "Here," she said. Her voice was steady, maybe steadier than mine. "Thanks," I said. We went back to work like nothing had happened, but my body did not believe that lie. By week 5, the terrace looked like the start of something special. The pergola framed the sky. The planters were half full. The jasmine was in, small, but ready to climb. When the wind blew, you could already smell green. That was when Wayne found his opening. It started with a crash in the alley. I was in my shop sanding walnut. Milo, my apprentice, was stacking offcuts. We both froze at the same time. "Truck," he said. We ran outside. A delivery truck had backed into the loading dock gate. The metal track was bent. The gate was stuck halfway up, teeth showing, turning the alley into a mess. The back of the truck blocked half the street. Horns were already starting. Gwendolyn stood there with a clipboard in her hand, hair pulled back, face tight. "I told you to use the freight entrance," she snapped at the driver. "The gate is stuck," he said. "It won't move." Up on a balcony, Wayne appeared with his phone in his hand like he could not wait to use it. "Miss Cooper," he called down. "Are you blocking the fire lane again? The fire marshal is very firm about that." He sounded cheerful, happy almost. Gwendolyn's eyes flashed. For the first time since I met her, I saw real panic touch her face. She looked at the truck, the gate, the lane, and Wayne's phone aimed like a weapon. "I'll tell him to leave," she muttered. "We'll reschedule." "No," I said. I walked past her to the gate. I crouched and looked at the track. The bottom roller had jumped out of the groove. Heavy steel. Simple problem. Ugly result. "Pry bar," I called. Milo ran to the shop and came back with one, metal cold in his hands. I slid the bar under the gate and set my shoulder against the steel. "Gwen," I said, my voice calm. "When I lift, you kick that roller back into the track. Hard. Can you do that?" Her eyes widened. "If I miss, it'll crush your hands," she said. "You won't miss," I said. "Ready?" I pulled. The gate rose slow, my muscles burned, my teeth ground together. "Now," I said. She moved. Her boot came down hard on the roller. There was a sharp clang. The wheel dropped back into place like it belonged there. "Down," she said. I lowered the gate, careful, feeling the guide grab again. "Pull in," I told the driver. He drove the truck fully into the bay and cleared the lane. The horn stopped. Gwendolyn looked up at Wayne and lifted her chin. "The lane is clear, Wayne," she called. "Put the phone away." Wayne's smile slipped for just a second. Then he turned and walked back inside. Milo exhaled so hard it sounded like a sigh. Back in the shop, he leaned on the workbench and watched me wash grease and dust from my hands. "Why are we doing this?" he asked. "You hate overtime. You hate HOA drama. You could have stayed inside. Let Wayne make his call. Let her deal with it." I shook water off my fingers and reached for a rag. "You saw her out there," I said. "She looked cornered," he admitted. "Wayne corners people," I said. "He picks moments when they're tired or alone. That's not management. That's hunting." "So you're playing hero?" Milo asked. "No," I said. "I'm protecting the work." He gave me a look that said he did not fully believe that. I let the silence sit for a second. "And?" he added. "And I don't like bullies," I said. "And I don't like watching someone who earned their place get shoved out by a man with a clipboard." Milo nodded slowly. "So you're invested," he said. "In the outcome." I corrected. He smirked. "Sand those oak slats," I said. He laughed and went back to work. 3 days later, Wayne hit harder. I was on the terrace, setting the last main beams in place when the roof door slammed open. A man in a high-visibility vest stepped out with a tablet in his hand. A city inspector. Wayne followed him just far enough back to look innocent. Stop work immediately, the inspector said. Gwendolyn froze with a trowel in her hand, halfway through planting. What? Why? She asked. We received a report of unauthorized structural modifications involving load-bearing steel, the inspector said. And unpermitted electrical work. There is no electrical, I said. It's just solar lights on low voltage. No tie-in. The report says you cut into the parapet to anchor beams, he replied. That voids occupancy. Everyone off. I'm red tagging the site. Gwendolyn went pale. We didn't cut the wall, she said. It's freestanding. Tell it to the judge, the inspector said. He walked to one of the pergola posts and kicked gravel aside. Then he pointed. There it was, a clean slice in the rubber roof membrane, long, sharp, and fresh. My stomach dropped. I crouched. The cut edge was dark and glossy. Too clean. Too new. That wasn't us, I said. It's on your site, the inspector said. He pulled a red tag from his clipboard and stuck it to the door frame. $10,000 fine. Possible teardown for inspection. Work is shut down. Safety first, Wayne said, like he was giving a wise lesson. After they left, the terrace felt like a crime scene. Gwendolyn walked to the railing and gripped it with both hands. Her knuckles turned white. We can fight it, I said. How? She asked. It's my word against theirs. It's not word, I said quietly. It's material. She turned, eyes bright with anger. I should have bought a condo in the suburbs, she said. No boards, no old men with clipboards. You don't belong in the suburbs, I said. She let out a short, bitter laugh. Maybe I don't belong here either, she said. Then she left, shoulders straight, head high, like she refused to let anyone see how hard it hit. I stayed. I walked the terrace alone. I looked at the cut in the membrane until I could see it with my eyes closed. Someone had knelt here with a knife and made this happen. Petty, careless, dangerous. Wayne liked to play small games, but small games still left real damage. I went downstairs to my shop. I turned off the overhead lights and sat in the soft glow of the bench lamp, arms on my knees, the smell of wood glue and sawdust pressing in. If I knew anything in my life, it was this. Wood and rubber do not lie. Time leaves marks, and I was very, very good at reading marks. The next morning, I went back up to the roof with a different attitude. No tools for building this time. Just gloves, small bags, a marker, my phone, and an old plastic kit I usually used to document damaged beams for clients. Gwendolyn had given me written permission in a text. I saved it and took a screenshot before I stepped through the red tag door. I was not going to give Wayne any easy points. The terrace felt strange without her there. Quiet. The red tag on the frame flapped a little in the wind. I walked straight to the cut. Up close, it looked even more wrong. The surface of the roof membrane was rough and a little dusty. The cut edge was dark and smooth like fresh paint. No gray. No tiny cracks. No dulling from sun. I crouched, took a photo with my phone, and set a ruler by the cut. Another photo. Then I used a clean pick to lift a tiny sliver from the very edge and slid it into a small bag. Then I stood and moved my boot along the gravel, careful, slow. A few feet away, near the parapet wall, I found what I was looking for. A boot print in the gravel. Not perfect, not a movie scene print, but deep enough to have shape. I took a photo. Then I mixed casting compound in a cheap plastic cup, poured it into the impression, and waited. The wind tugged at my shirt. Somewhere below, a dog barked. When the mold set, I lifted it, checked the tread, and sealed it in a bag. Back in my shop, Milo watched me unpack the kit with wide eyes. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Proof," I said. I pulled the microscope from the storage shelf. It was old, but it worked. I set the membrane sample on a slide and moved it under the lens. Under magnification, the cut edge looked like a dark, smooth cliff. No gray. No tiny pits. No scatter of sunlight damage. That was what time did. It ate edges. This edge was new. I took micro photos with my phone through the lens. Then I cut a fresh piece from a leftover scrap of the same membrane we had used and made a control cut with a clean blade. I put that under the scope. Same smooth edge. Then I moved the control piece under a UV work light and left it bathing for hours while I sanded a plank and pretended to be patient. By evening, the control edge had already changed. Tiny changes, but they were there, a hint of gray. Tiny rough bits. Under the microscope, you could see the difference between now and 6 hours from now. You could imagine what 6 weeks looked like. I printed the photos and slid them into a folder. I labeled the casting mold bag. I wrote the date and time on each thing I had touched. At midnight, I walked out into the lobby to clear my head. On the bulletin board, there was a photo from some summer cookout. Wayne stood in the center, one arm around someone's shoulder, a drink in his other hand. On his feet were those same loud golf shoes. Wide waffle tread. Little logo mark at the heel. I did not need to steal the shoes or break into his place. I already had what I needed. I just had to trust what the material was telling me. The next afternoon, Gwendolyn walked into my shop. She wore a blazer again, hair smooth, makeup neat. From the outside, she looked as calm as ever. Only her hands, tied around her coffee cup, gave her away. "I can't sleep," she said. "I did not sleep much either," I said. I wiped my hands on a clean rag and pulled the folder from under the bench. I slid it across to her. "What is this?" she asked. "Start from the top," I said. She opened the folder. At first, her eyes moved fast, not really seeing. Then she slowed. She leaned over the photos. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "Rubber," I said. "This is the cut edge from your roof. This is a fresh cut I made in the shop. This is what happens after UV exposure. Rubber ages. Edges go dull. They gray. They get tiny cracks. That slice upstairs is too clean." Her gaze sharpened. "So we can prove the cut was made after we finish the work," she said. "Yes," I said. "That is the first step." "And the second?" she asked. I tapped the casting mold. "This is a print from a boot next to the cut," I said. I had to work to get it, but it is there. This photo is the tread pattern from the mold. And this is a lobby picture of Wayne with the same tread and the same logo on his heel. She stared at the images, then back at me. "No illegal stuff," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "I cannot afford a stunt. Not with my license. Not with this building." "I know," I said. Her eyes searched my face. "I mean it, Bryce," she said. "No breaking into offices. No fake reports. If we win this, we do it clean." "We will," I said. "We use what is real. Cuts, rubber, tread, time. That is all." She let out a breath, slow and shaky. "Thank you," she said. "Do not thank me yet," I said. "We still have to stand in a room with him and not throw anything." Her mouth twitched like she wanted to smile and did not trust it. "I filed a police report this morning," she said. "Vandalism and harassment. I did it before I came down here. I gave the officer your name as a witness. He is asking for a copy of the photos and any evidence you have." "That is good," I said. "So what do we do now?" she asked. "Now?" I said. "We ask for a hearing." The board called it a special meeting. It felt more like a trial. Friday night, the community room filled with residents again. People were more restless this time. The red tag on the roof had made them nervous. Gwendolyn sat at a small table with a neat folder and a pen in front of her. She wore a deep green blouse, her hair pulled back tight. She looked like she was walking into court. Wayne sat at the head of the long table with 2 board members at his side. He smiled at everyone. He did not look at me when I walked in. The city inspector sat in the back, arms crossed, tablet on his knee. Wayne tapped the microphone. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "We are here to discuss the safety issue on the rooftop and the board's motion to revoke Ms. Cooper's rights to that space, and, if needed, to force a sale for the protection of all owners." A low murmur rolled through the room. My jaw tightened. He talked like he was saving us. He was the one holding the knife. "Mr. Rogers," Wayne said suddenly, his eyes finally on me. "This is a board session. You may observe. You may not interrupt." I met his gaze and sat down in the second row, my folder resting on my lap, hands steady. He thought he could control the room with a microphone and a script. The problem for him was simple. I had the truth, and Gwendolyn was done being quiet. Wayne started his little speech like he was reading from a script he had practiced in the mirror. "Miss Cooper has endangered us all," he said into the mic. "Unapproved structural work, unpermitted cuts, a pattern of ignoring building rules. The board moves to revoke her rooftop rights and begin proceedings for forced sale if needed." Quote, "People shifted in their chairs. Nobody liked the words forced sale." Gwendolyn sat beside the board table, spine straight, hands folded on the folder we had prepared. She looked calm. Only I could see the tightness in her shoulders. When Wayne finally paused, she stood. "Before you vote on anything," she said, voice clear, "I'd like Mr. Rogers to present his findings as my contractor and neighbor." Wayne rolled his eyes like he was being forced to listen to a child. "This is unnecessary," he said. "The city already saw the damage." "The city saw a cut," I said, standing. "They did not see when it was made." I walked to the front with my folder and the small wooden box. My heart beat steady, not fast, not slow, just strong. I set the folder down, opened it, and turned to the inspector. "You saw the slice in the membrane," I said. "But rubber tells time. When you cut it, the edge is jet black. Exposure to air and sun turns it gray and rough." I clicked to the first photo, the cut edge from the roof, smooth, dark. "This is your photo from the terrace," I said, "taken the morning after the red tag." Then I laid down the next one, a cut I had made myself on fresh membrane. "This is a control cut I made in the shop yesterday," I said. "Same material, same type of knife, identical edge." Murmurs moved through the room. I laid down the third. "This is the same control sample after hours under UV," I said. "You can already see dulling on the edge. Multiply that by the weeks since we finished the pergola, and you understand why that slice upstairs cannot be from our install." I let it sit there. "The cut on the roof is new," I said. "Whoever did it after inspection, not during construction." Wayne forced a laugh. "This proves nothing about who did it," he said. "Rubber cracks, weather happens." "Agreed," I said. "That's why there's a second piece." I opened the wooden box and lifted out the casting mold. The plaster was white and ugly, but the tread imprint was clear. "This," I said, "is a boot impression from the gravel beside the cut, taken the morning after the red tag and preserved." I passed it to the inspector. He examined it, then the close-up photo I slid over. A wide waffle pattern, a little logo mark at the heel. I did not look at Wayne yet. I looked at the room. "I've seen this tread before," I said, "on Mr. Bailey's golf shoes. The same shoes he wears in the lobby, on the roof, at every board event." Now I looked at Wayne. Color climbed his neck. "That is pure speculation," he snapped. "You have no right to accuse me." "I'm not accusing you," I said. "I'm showing the pattern. The rest will come from the cameras." Ms. Cooper filed a police report this morning for vandalism and harassment. The officer requested lobby and elevator footage to see who accessed the roof level around the time that cut was made. Heads turned toward Gwendolyn. She nodded once. "Yes," she said, "I did, and I'll be handing these photos in this mold to the officer tonight." Silence dropped into the room. The inspector cleared his throat. "If the complaint that started this inspection is withdrawn," he said slowly, "and evidence shows post-install tampering, we can review the red tag and correct the record." Quote. Eyes turned back to Wayne. For the first time since I had moved into the building, he did not look like he owned the air. His gaze jumped from the photos to the mold to the faces around him. People who had nodded along with him before now looked unsure. He tried to smile. It did not reach his eyes. "Perhaps," he said stiffly. "The report was hasty. I was only acting out of concern for safety. If there was a misunderstanding, I'm prepared to withdraw my complaint." He pushed the mic away like it burned. The inspector nodded. "Then I'll remove the enforcement hold," he said. "We'll schedule a reinspection and, assuming the structure is as described, lift the red tag." A small burst of applause came from the back. It grew. A few neighbors clapped harder, almost like they enjoyed seeing Wayne swallow his own words. Gwendolyn did not cheer. She just closed her eyes for half a second and let her shoulders fall an inch, as if someone had taken a brick off her chest. Then she looked at me. Her eyes said what her mouth did not say in front of everyone. "Thank you." I gave her a small nod and stepped back. I was not there to gloat. I was there to make sure the work survived. The reinspection came 2 days later. A different inspector walked the terrace this time. He checked the pergola footings, the planters, the drains. He read the engineer's report and my drawings. "No penetrations?" he asked. "None," I said. "All loads sitting on pads," he said. "Yes," I said. He ran his hand along one of the beams and grunted quietly. The sound a man makes when something is actually done right. "Looks good," he said. "I'll sign off." When he left, the terrace felt like it had been unchained. That night, Gwendolyn invited a few neighbors up. Just a small thing, no speeches. No big toasts. She set out simple food on the new table, turned on the small lights we'd strung under the pergola, and let people see what she had been fighting for. Jasmine had started to climb. The city lights glowed through the slats. The air felt different up there. Softer. At some point, I ended up standing by the railing with a drink in my hand, watching the way people's shoulders dropped when they stepped outside, how they breathed deeper. "You did that," I said quietly. She came to stand beside me. "We did that," she said. Her hand brushed mine on the rail. She did not pull away. Neither did I. Later, when the neighbors drifted downstairs, we stayed. "You know what I liked most about tonight?" she asked. "The snacks?" I said. She smiled. "The fact that nobody asked if I was sure about hiring you," she said. "They just enjoyed what we built." "What you built," I said. "I just made sure it was straight." Her eyes softened. "You're allowed to take credit," she said. "You saved this, Bryce. You saved me." My chest went tight. "Gwen," I said quietly, "I protected the work. You saved yourself. You showed up. You filed reports. You stood in front of that room and did not fold." She stepped closer. Her shoulder brushed my arm. "And you stood next to me," she said. "Not in front, not behind." Next. I did not answer with words. I turned, lifted my hand, and brushed a stray piece of hair from her cheek. My fingers lingered for a second too long. She leaned into my palm. That was her answer. We kissed again, slower this time. No audience, no anger, no fear, just choice. When we finally went downstairs, the lobby was quiet. Wayne was by the mailboxes, sorting letters with more force than necessary. He glanced up and saw us step out of the elevator together. Her hand was in mine, his mouth twisted. "Don't get too comfortable," he said to her, voice low and bitter. "He's a handyman. He'll fix your leaks, take your money and move on. He doesn't love you. He loves the paycheck." Heat flashed through me, sharp and fast. Before I could speak, Gwendolyn let go of my hand and stepped right up to him, head high. "He's not a handyman," she said. "He's my partner." Wayne blinked. "Business partner," he sneered. "Partner," she repeated. Her eyes found mine for a second, and they went softer. Then she looked back at him. "And to answer your question, no, I don't love you. I love him." The lobby went silent. Wayne's throat moved. His face went red. He looked at me like he wanted one last shot. "She doesn't love you," he said, sharp, like saying it again would make it real. I slipped an arm around Gwendolyn's waist and pulled her gently back to my side. I felt her relax into me, just a little, like this was where she was meant to be. "She just told you she does," I said. My voice stayed calm. "So my question is, why do you care so much?" Quote. His mouth opened, then closed. No clever answer. No rules to hide behind. He grabbed his mail and walked away fast, shoulders tight, elevator doors closing on the last of his power. Gwendolyn watched him go, then looked up at me, eyes wide. "Did I really just say that in the lobby?" she asked. "You did," I said. "In front of the mailboxes. It's very official." A laugh broke out of her then, not polished, not controlled, just real. I pulled a small key from my pocket and took her hand. "What's that?" she asked. "Spare key to the shop," I said, "since we're partners." She looked at the key, then at me, her fingers curled around the metal, closing it in her fist. "Come on," she said, tugging my hand. "I want to show you how the terrace looks from the street." It's starting to glow. We stepped out onto the sidewalk together. Up above, the pergola lights outlined the roof in warm lines. The jasmine leaves shifted in the night wind. Love is not a man fixing a broken person. It is two people standing next to each other when the board votes, when the rumors start, when the red tags go up. It is saying, "I believe you," and then backing it with proof. Not taking over, not pushing aside, just reinforcing what already matters until it can stand on its own. We think love is about finding someone who fits the empty spaces. Sometimes it is about finding someone who looks at the cracks in your walls and says, "This is worth saving," and then picks up a level and builds with you, not for you. That night, as we stood on the sidewalk, my arm around her shoulders, her head against my chest, I realized something simple. The terrace was not the only thing we had just brought back to life.